We all know the fantasy. You're sitting at a desk, staring at a screen, and suddenly you want to walk away from it all, disappear into the deep woods, and build a quiet life with your bare hands. If you actually had the nerve to do it, your guide would be Henry David Thoreau. In 1854, he published Walden, a foundational text for the minimalist, off-grid dream. For generations, people have read this book as the record of a man who stripped away the luxuries of modern civilization to find truth in untouched nature. It represents the peak of rugged American self-reliance. But the great American woodsman was playing a character. That legendary survival story is actually a highly curated 19th century public relations campaign. This is a photograph of Thoreau's Cove at Walden Pond. His supposedly isolated cabin was located in a town suburb, sitting barely a mile away from his closest neighbor. He also regularly abandoned his isolation. He walked into town constantly to catch up on local gossip, socialize, and eat warm meals prepared by his family. He didn't carve out a homestead against the odds either. He was squatting, rent-free, on property owned by his wealthy benefactor and friend, the writer Ralph Waldo Emerson. Despite relying on the safety net of his rich friends, Thoreau used his writing to look down on those experiencing genuine poverty. In the text, he mocks a Native American basket weaver for trying to sell handmade goods to survive, while bragging about his own refusal to participate in commerce. Thoreau was a wealthy kid taking a consequence-free vacation. Long before television, he invented the survival reality show, a produced performance of poverty where the safety of home was always a short walk away. It is easy to write him off as a hypocrite, but if we stop expecting Walden to be a true documentary and view it as a staged thought experiment, its value changes. Thoreau was a lifestyle hacker. He was prototyping a new economic framework to find the absolute minimum cost of human existence. Let us look at this breakdown from his famous housing ledger. He spent exactly $28.12, roughly $8 on boards, $4 on bricks, and $4 on nails. At the time, Harvard University charged its students $30 a year just to rent a single room. Thoreau recognized that participating in normal society meant agreeing to massive recurring financial obligations. You pay rent, so you have to work, locking you into a cycle of selling your labor just to keep a roof over your head. By capping his housing cost at a one-time fee of under $30, he bought his way out of the requirement to work for someone else. He applied this strict accounting to human interaction. Thoreau argued that people socialize so constantly they never acquire new value. We just end up serving each other what he called the moldy cheese of our own routine thoughts. He used solitude to create the active, necessary void required for new values to form. This produced his ultimate asset. Thoreau had practically zero money, but he possessed an absolute abundance of autonomous hours. He was a time millionaire. Modern workers fantasize about a single free Tuesday morning. Thoreau structured his entire existence to guarantee he had endless summer days to spend exactly as he pleased. Living in intentional poverty to stockpile free hours was a radical refusal of a capitalist system designed to extract every usable hour from citizens. We have to remember who actually walked into those woods. Thoreau was in his 20s at the time. His experiment was driven by youthful rebellion and a desire for attention. But the man who lived at the pond is not the man who wrote the final book. Thoreau spent years revising his journals, and the text we read today is the heavily edited, matured reflection of a man in his 40s. History shows us that great ideas often arrive via compromised messengers. We frequently separate a visionary's blind spots from the utility of their work. Abraham Lincoln is revered for emancipation, yet he was willing to wage a devastatingly bloody war to preserve the Union. Mahatma Gandhi championed universal brotherhood, yet early in his career he viewed the oppressive caste system as a secondary issue. A philosopher failing to perfectly execute their own doctrine does not invalidate the power of the doctrine itself. Thoreau the man was full of contradictions, but the framework he built works. You do not need to abandon society for the woods, and you do not need to worship Thoreau as a flawless hero. Even the original ancient minimalists would likely reject the rigid labels and idolatry we force onto them today. Walden is a way to recognize the hidden costs of our daily routine. It asks what we are actually buying with the hours of our lives. By embracing minimalism, active solitude and time wealth, we can navigate the noisy modern wilderness using the ideas left behind by a fake woodsman.